Hello weirdos! So we all saw the announcement of the books that will be moving on to round 3 of the BookTube Prize, or the semifinals. I am so excited. So I'm here today to sort of do a reaction, just like I did last round. Let's just get straight into it. Group A is of these books. That is Know My Name, Yellow House, Invisible Women, Say Nothing, Made, and Ice at the End of the World. Ones that did not make the cut are Invisible Women, Made, and The Ice at the End of the World. As you guys know, I've read Say Nothing for the first round, so my thoughts on that book are already out there. I have read Invisible Women and The Ice at the End of the World, so I will be putting my thoughts here. And now I'm going to talk about Invisible Women. This book I read recently. Ooh, what to say. So I liked it. Obviously it was really interesting. I really liked that the author took case studies, like real life case studies, and dissected why they did what they did in terms of the case studies, and it was just really great to see the examples of here's an issue in a community that is data biased, and a lot of it is stuff that you would not think would have like data bias against women, like for instance commuting schedules. But when you break down and look at female-centered movement patterns, you see it is, and how some countries, some cities have taken that data bias into account and changed the way they plan their cities or plan their parks. Most of the times, at least in the examples that were shown, it results in a positive net economic growth for the community. And that was, I think, the strength of this book, and that's what I liked so much. You just got to see all sorts of little facets that you would not have thought were ever biased, but when you take into account things like all studies, like medical studies, are mostly done on men. They are rarely ever done on women, and taking that also like women of color, like on top of that, and then she talks a little bit about women in computer science. She talked a lot about like the origins of computer science and how most of the time today like women are kind of like not necessarily told this narrative, but there's this narrative in the general collection osmosis, cultural osmosis of like Americans' minds that it was always men, it was always men, it was always men, but it really wasn't. And she talks about, you know, the computers, NASA, and all of these people who were women who went into like computer science at the very early stages and were kind of written out of history. The biggest pitfall of that section in the book was that the author neglected to mention Ada Lovelace. If you don't know who Ada Lovelace is, a very, very quick synopsis is that she is the first computer scientist. She created computer science before computers were really ever a thing. It was the early 1800s. It wasn't computer science as we know it today, but it is very, very similar. Lots of her ideas about like looping and indexing and integers and variables, all of these really basic computer science foundational things were things that she had created and thought up of and theorized. And I think it was one of the biggest like pitfalls of that section was that she neglected to mention Ada Lovelace at all. And even today, most computer scientists may not even know who she is, and I've been praised for knowing about her and like researching her, which is, in my opinion, a little bit ridiculous, because I literally think it's as simple as a Google search for who is the first computer scientist, and she'll come up. I'm not sure. Someone verify me on that. Well, in that section, I was waiting to hear her mention Ada Lovelace, and she just was never mentioned. So for me, that was a drawback of the book. I think this book will also make you really angry, just because it's just very frustrating to know that all of this stuff is set up against you. And like, it's not that like I didn't know that going into it, but just to see how pervasive it is. Another thing that I like about the book is that she doesn't just center it on America. She uses examples from other countries and other non-Western countries too, so that's kind of nice. That is limited. I would have liked to see that expanded more, because women are obviously treated different in different countries. Otherwise, I really liked this book. I read a book for the BookTube Prize that has not been eliminated yet, so here are my thoughts. And that would be Ice at the End of the World by John Gerter. I read that in March. It was during the first week of official quarantines in Illinois, and I thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Once the result for round 1 for the BookTube Prize was released, I saw that a lot of people were ranking it high, which I was so happy because I completely agree with a lot of their statements. What hooked me about this book was that it was about Arctic adventurers, and I find those really interesting. I'm very fascinated by the Franklin expedition. I really want to get my hands on a copy of a book about the Franklin expedition, so if anyone has any suggestions for books about the Franklin expedition, leave them in the comments below. I will really appreciate it. Ice at the End of the World starts off talking about a lot of the early Arctic explorers and what conditions they had to go through to even discover parts of the Arctic, and then it doesn't just stop there. It continues through the history of Arctic science and kind of the science of glaciers and of ice cores, which was really different than a lot of the other geology that we're used to. Glaciers are very different. There's a section where they talk about this one scientist who was tasked with taking measurements, and he had to stay isolated in this one, basically shack. He was isolated from people and would only get news like about every month. That part just really resonated with me at the time, and I was just like, damn, we're all in isolation. I feel you, bro. I love sciencey things. I loved how sciencey it was. That really hooked me. So essentially the book hooked me with the Arctic adventurers and explorers, and then got me to stay with the science, which is just great. I love it. I listened to this book on audio. I did not have a physical copy. I really enjoyed it. I love at the end it comes in with a little bit of the climate message, and that, hey, like, we have to do things, because if not, we're not going to have these glaciers anymore, which beyond the climate impacts of it, we will lose a lot of knowledge. While they do acknowledge that we might gain knowledge because of the archaeological work that will be able to come out of glaciers melting, but at the same time there's still going to be so much knowledge that we're going to lose from the glaciers melting, which is sad. I liked it. I'm in between a 4 or 5. I think I'm leaning more towards 5, so I think I'm going to give it a 5-star because it was good. I liked it. Actually, I'm in between a 4 or a 5. I think I'm going to lean more towards a 4. I don't know. I don't know anything about Made. I know what, like, basic things, but I can't really make a value judgment on it as to why I think they got eliminated. Ice at the End of the World, I think it's just a nature writing book, and I think that's not really everyone's jam. So I think that's why that one got eliminated. And then Invisible Women, I just think that if Yellow House is as strong as Say Nothing is, and Know My Name I know is going to be, then it just kind of got weeded out in the pack. Sometimes science books, you guys know I love science books, just have a real hard time standing out against books that are well written, well researched, and about like social commentary or social justice-y thing. Group B is these, and I believe this is the one where I've read the least. Well, I guess no, I've read 3 of the books. So this group was American Predator, The Uninhabitable Earth, In the Dream House, No Visible Bruises, Catch and Kill, and Guest House for Young Widows. So the ones that did not make it through are American Predator, The Uninhabitable Earth, and Guest House for Young Widows. So I've read American Predator and The Uninhabitable Earth. I read American Predator back in December of 2019, so my thoughts about that book are over there. Honestly, kind of glad it was eliminated. It's not really a book that is my thing. I've come to realize that true crime really isn't where I like to go. The Uninhabitable Earth, again, falls into the trap of being a really sciencey book. I think it's really good. I have watched a few, and I think that just, it winds up being that In the Dream House, No Visible Bruises, and Catch and Kill are just a little bit stronger. I've not read The Guest House for Young Widows, but what I have heard is that there are some structural issues with it. When the groups are as good as they are right now, the books that have the structure or editing issues are going to be the ones that get eliminated. Group C are these, and this is the group that I judged, so I was really interested in figuring out which ones shook out. So this was Solitary, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, Parkland, Charged, and Underland. So the ones that did not make it is How to Be an Anti-Racist, Parkland, and Charged. So I agree with the Charged. That to me just had structural things that I did not like. The problem is with this group C is that I loved 5 out of 6 of them. When I was ranking them, I was like, I can rank these however I want, but ultimately, however it shakes down, I'm going to be happy with that because I like all of the books. I am very sad to see How to Be an Anti-Racist leave. It's sad. I really liked that one. I think it's a book everyone should read. My theories for why I think some people have decided to eliminate that one, this is just my theories. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I've watched a few videos for group C. I think that the issue of it being like very textbooky and very logically did prove to be an issue. I mean, it's a heavy topic. It's a complex topic. Parkland, I think why Parkland didn't make it to the next round is because it's some people might have felt like it was a little bit of false advertising. I didn't, as you guys know. I appreciated that it wasn't actually about Parkland. It was about the movement that came from Parkland. Yeah, but I think some people might have had an issue with it. I think some people also had an issue with the writing. The writing didn't bother me, but I'm just one person. I'm just one judge. I was very happy to see that Underland made it through to the next round because I love Underland. I think it's like the only like science-y or like nature writing book that made it through this round. And Solitary and Maybe We Should Talk to Someone, those were just, yeah, those were my number 1 and number 2, so that made sense. Group D, going into this round, I had read 4 out of 6 of these books, and I loved 4 out of 6 of them. That is She Said, The Only Plane in the Sky, Sea People, Women of No Importance, The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, and Trick Mirror. I don't really know anything about Trick Mirror. She Said I read in December of last year, so my thoughts are in that wrap up. And The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, I read for the last round. That got the number 1 spot for me. And so I'm so sad to see it go when looking at the other 2 that are left. Sea People, Only Plane in the Sky. I don't know anything about Women of No Importance, but it better be fucking fabulous to beat out Heartbeat of Wounded Knee. That's really my wrap up. I'm sorry I can't give more of my thoughts on some of the other books that I've read, but they have made it through to the next round, and I've decided to keep those thoughts confidential until either they are eliminated or like they win. I almost think that I was more excited to see which ones made it through Group D than I was for my own group, if that makes any sense. I remember sitting there and I was like, oh my god, Mom, Dad, this is the group that has 4 books that are freaking fantabulous that I've read. And I remember like just feeling my heart. I was just like, if X book and Y book like doesn't make it through, I'm gonna flip my shit. And it did, and I was so happy that it did. Because I think I started screaming. I was so excited. I think because Group C, like, I liked like most of the books like on a fairly equal like level, so I had kind of made my peace with any of the books that make it through. I will be really happy with. That is it for my thoughts and my reactions to the second round of the BookTube Prize. I'm very excited for round 3. I am going to be a judge again. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you are thinking about doing the BookTube Prize next year, because it'll be really fun. And do you want them to add another category? Because I know translated has been up there, but I don't know. We'll see. We have to get enough judges. So if you want there to be translated literature or any other category, sign up to be a judge and tell people about it so that there can be more people involved. And yeah, anyway. Okay, goodbye.